Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. George here from Midnight Rainbow Recording, and today is the beginning of what I hope will be a long and prosperous series of mix breakdown videos in which I discuss some of the details, some of the ingredients that go into making the cool music that we work on here at Midnight Rainbow. I thought I'd start strong today with T-Rex by Lou Foulkes, the lead single from the EP that Lou came down here to record earlier on in the year. If you want to hear the full version of the song and see the music video, it's on his YouTube channel. I've put a link in the description of this video. But before you go, which I thoroughly recommend you do because it's brilliant, stick around and check it out as I break it down and pull it apart and show you some of the individual instruments, some of the sounds, and some of the ideas that we used to come up with the finished track. Let's start off just by hearing some of it and seeing what we think.
Well, you came and you sat down on the curb right next to me. Opened your bag and took out 2 fags and a tissue for my cheek.
So it's a pretty cool sound. It's a kind of modern pop rock thing, and it's a lot of the 1975. It's Bastille, it's James Bay. It's a little bit of excitement going on there, but it wasn't exactly like this when it first arrived in the studio. I will just play you the vocal and the acoustic guitar and let you hear what it sounded like initially.
I saw you leave with him about 2 a.m. You tripped over the step.
It's kind of simple and folky and lyrically driven, and it was something I noticed about a lot of the tracks on this EP, that they were simple confessional folk songs, very much vocally and lyrically driven. And so I felt like my main priority as producer was not to overwhelm that lyrical drive, but to find ways to support it. So to figure out what the narrative of the song was and to find ways to bring that to the fore rather than just doing flashy stuff that sounded cool to overwhelm it. So for this song, for example, the story of the lyric is a fight outside a nightclub. So I figured the first thing we needed to do was get some rhythm and some motion and some energy into it. So the first thing we did, in fact, was put on a bass guitar part, which is a kind of downward walking bass thing that sounds like this. So it starts to groove along. We also, in the second verse, doubled that up the octave on a Telecaster, and that sounds like this. If I just play that on its own. It's just doing exactly what the bass is, but up the octave to give it a bit of texture, a bit of richness, and to punch things along. Now, we also added another electric guitar part on the left-hand side, which is here, and that's doing a slightly different job rhythmically. It's playing arpeggiated figures based around the chords and doing a bit of counterpoint against those two parts. So have a listen. So we start to create a bit of motion between the instrumental parts in the song. And when you add the acoustic guitar back in, it sounds like this. So it's starting to groove along, but of course we needed some percussion too. So I took what I've called a drum box here. It's actually a drum loop out of an old Yamaha keyboard. And if you listen to it on its own, it's dreadful. So there's a thin version and also this direct-in version, which is a bit fatter. But it's unbelievably basic. That is just there to tick the thing along, to keep it moving, to keep it chucking away. And we layered that with a bunch of other percussion. There are actually 2 drum kits in this song, but this set of 6 microphones here don't do anything until right at the very end here, which we'll come to. But the main kit is actually this 3-mic setup here, nice and simple, and it does a pretty basic, simple beat, but it's bringing in some more texture. I'll let you have a listen to it and see what you think. Bit more richness in that kick drum down low, a little bit more texture from the hi-hat there, because it's an actual hi-hat as opposed to a sort of plasticky old child's keyboard. So things start to fill out. And again, if we add in those guitar parts and the bass, you'll start to hear how the rhythmic structure of this song comes together. getting pretty cool, right? I wanted to make the point actually while I'm at it. This guitar part only happens in the second verse and then right at the end. There's gaps either side for a very good reason. And this is a lesson that I've had to learn and relearn, and it's a really difficult lesson. But as a producer, I've come to realize that you can't just throw cool sounds all over the place when you're making a song come together. You have to save some of them and use them later. Because my instinct has always been, oh, that sounds cool, throw it in. That sounds even cooler, throw that in as well. Oh, and add that and that. And you end up just with this mush of cool sounding stuff, but it gets really boring after like 15 seconds. So you got to think about adding something in later on, dropping something out maybe. So you'll see like in the second verse here, there's this electric guitar part, and then in the third verse there's these synth parts, which we're going to come to in a second, but the guitar drops out, and then they all come together for the end, but it's only a few seconds there, so it's not long enough to get boring. But do you see what I mean? It's really important to stagger these things and make it interesting all the way through so that there's always a new sound drawing the listener's ear. So speaking of new sounds, let's talk about these synths a little bit. There are basically 4 synth parts in green here. The first one I want to show you, called Glitching Beat Machine, is actually partly a rhythmic thing as well, partly a percussive thing. It's got an arpeggiator built into its rhythmic circuit, so there's a certain degree of randomization happening in the rhythm here. Have a little listen. It's kind of an interesting noise, right? And I bet you think, well, that won't fit with everything else. That's ridiculous. But when you kind of add a couple of other things, and it's almost imperceptible in there, just chucking away. But it's throwing out a few trippy little things that catch you off guard. And this is what I'm talking about. It's something to draw the listener's ear and make sure that the whole thing stays texturally interesting throughout. So that's happening all the way through the song, as you can see, and just fading in and out and randomizing and whirling around, making the thing sound rich and full. Then there's this fellow, which appears only in the third verse and at the end, which is a twinkly little kind of counter melody thing. And this fella here, Glass Sky, which is a synth preset, is just filling in some richness in the mid-range and some kind of twinkly wine glass type stuff up high. Just whispering away in the background there. But giving the thing some ethereal life, giving it another texture. And then right at the end here, my favourite thing in the world, Mellotron. It's a real, not a guilty pleasure, but just like something I'm obsessed with unaccountably. Mellotron. Have a little listen to this on its own, actually. It's amazing. It's very Strawberry Fields, right? And all that is there to do is fill in some fatness, some punch and some thickness in the middle of the range. Not the low bassy stuff, not the high trebly stuff, but the mid-range, just to fatten things out when the climax of the song comes. And boy, does this song have a big climax. It's so cool. As you can see, the drums get really big here at the end. This other kit comes in, which we're coming to, I promise. It's really underwhelming. You're going to be so disappointed. But the vocal is not underwhelming. Have a listen to how this comes about at the end. So it becomes huge and rich and the drums go crazy, and Lou's vocal there is just, it's up the octave and it's strong and amazing. He's got this wonderfully versatile voice which can do all the breathy low stuff, but it also goes really rocking when it gets high. And as I say, this other drum kit at the end here, let me just solo that all up for you so you can hear it. Oh, hold on. How do I do this? That's like that. And all it's doing is adding that tiny little bit of texture and messiness as counteracted with the other kit, and it just fills the whole thing out. So little tiny touches coming together to make something that hopefully sounds really cool. Have a listen to the end. So that's about all I have to say about this song. I hope you found this interesting. Do tell me in the comments if you did. Don't forget to go and check out Lou's music video on his channel. There's a link in the description. And subscribe to this channel and click like if you enjoyed the video. There will be more like it coming. Lots of cool music we've been working on lately, and I intend to do a whole bunch of these mixed breakdown videos if you enjoy them. So let me know in the comments, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.